I need to get this off my chest. What happened to me and my friends last spring break still keeps me up at night. I've tried to rationalize it, but some things just can't be explained. I've gone over every detail 1,000 times, and I still can't make sense of it. Maybe writing it all down will help, or maybe it'll just make it worse. Either way, here's what happened.
It started when my friends, Jake, Mia, Ryan, and I, decided to rent a cabin for spring break. We were all broke college students, so we wanted something cheap and off the beaten path. After hours of scrolling through sketchy rental sites, we found this beachside cabin tucked away in some remote corner of the coast. The photos looked straight out of a vintage postcard. Weathered wood, a wraparound porch, and this eerie charm that made it feel like stepping into another time. The first red flag should have been the price. $200 for the whole week? Too good to be true. But we were desperate, and the listing promised seclusion and serenity. We didn't realize how much of that we'd get. The second red flag was the locals. When we stopped at a gas station in the nearest town, the cashier froze when we mentioned the cabin.
"You're staying there?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "That place, it's not right. People go in, but they don't always come out."
We laughed it off. I mean, come on, it was just some old cabin, right? Wrong! The drive to the cabin was unsettling enough. The road narrowed to a single lane, surrounded by dense, gnarled trees that seemed to lean in closer the farther we went. The GPS stopped working about a mile out, and we had to rely on handwritten directions from the rental site. When we finally arrived, the cabin looked exactly like the photos, but in person it felt wrong. The wood was too dark, the windows too reflective, like they were watching us. The first night was off. The cabin had this weird vibe, like it was holding its breath. The air was too still, and the sound of the waves crashing outside felt muffled, like we were underwater. We tried to light a fire in the fireplace, but the flames kept flickering green. Jake joked it was haunted, but his laugh didn't reach his eyes. We unpacked and cracked open some beers, trying to shake off the unease. But as the night went on, the feeling only got worse. The windows seemed to watch us, and the shadows in the corners of the room felt darker than they should have. Then the nightmares started. I woke up in the middle of the night, drenched in sweat. I dreamed of a faceless figure standing at the foot of my bed, just staring. When I told the others at breakfast, Mia went pale. "I had the same dream," she said. "But in mine, it was standing in the corner, whispering something I couldn't understand." Ryan brushed it off. "It's just the creepy atmosphere messing with us. Let's hit the beach and forget about it." But the beach wasn't any better. The sand was unnaturally white, and the ocean was calm in a way that felt wrong. We found weird stuff buried in the sand. Old toys, broken mirrors, even a wedding ring. Mia picked up the ring, and I swear the temperature dropped 10 degrees. She dropped it like it burned her, and we all heard it. A faint, echoing laugh coming from the water. "Did you hear that?" Mia asked, her voice trembling. "It's just the wind," Ryan said, but he didn't sound convinced. That night, things got worse. We were playing cards in the living room when the power went out. The fireplace flared up, casting these long, flickering shadows on the walls, and then we heard it. A voice, whispering from the hallway. "Leave, while you still can." Jake grabbed a flashlight and went to check it out. He came back 5 minutes later, pale as a ghost. "There's no one there," he said, his voice shaking. "But I saw something. In the mirror. It wasn't me." We tried to laugh it off, but the tension was thick. That's when Mia went missing. We searched the cabin top to bottom, but she was gone. Her phone, her bag, even her shoes were still by the door. It was like she'd vanished into thin air. The locals refused to help. "We told you not to stay there," the gas station cashier said when we went back to town. "That cabin, it takes people. It's been doing it for years." We called the police, but they didn't find anything. No signs of a struggle, no footprints, nothing. The last night, I woke up to the sound of Mia's voice. "Help me," she whispered, her voice coming from the hallway. I followed it, even though every instinct screamed at me to stay in bed. The hallway stretched longer than it should have, and at the end stood the faceless figure from my dreams. "You shouldn't have come here," it said, its voice echoing like it was coming from everywhere at once. "Now you're mine." I woke up on the porch at sunrise, drenched in sweat. The others were there too, looking just as shaken. We packed up and left without looking back. But here's the thing, Mia's still missing. The police closed the case, saying she probably ran away. But I know what I saw. That cabin, it's alive, and it's hungry. If you're thinking about renting a cheap cabin for spring break, don't. Some places are cheap for a reason. And if you hear whispers in the wind, run.